Welcome. Tonight we travel back many centuries to a world of stone walls and candlelight, a place where life moved not by clocks or calendars, but by the slow tolling of a bell and the rhythm of prayer. You are entering the cloisters of a medieval monastery, where silence is more than a rule. It is the air itself. Here time feels different. It stretches out like a slow river winding through a quiet valley. The men who live here are devoted entirely to God, to work, and to the unchanging order of the day. You will walk with them, will feel the cold beneath their feet, the coarse wool of their robes, and the gentle, persistent hum of their daily routine. We will move through 4 chapters of this life. First, the reality of a monk's day, its quiet discomforts and subtle beauty. Then, the story of one forgotten scribe, the mystery of a vanished book. And finally, a look at the meals and rituals of the abbot's table. And so, settle in. Let your breathing match the slow, steady pace of our journey, and imagine yourself inside the thick, echoing halls of a monastery, many hundreds of years ago. The first sound of the day is not a song or the warmth of conversation. It is the deep, low toll of a bell. Cutting through the still darkness, you rise from a narrow bed. It's just a simple wooden frame, with a thin straw mattress that creaks when you shift your weight. The air is cold, and it bites at your skin as you sit up. Pull the heavy wool of your robe around you. Its fibers rough against your arms, its scent faintly smoky from the last evening's hearth. The floor is stone. It holds the chill of the night. You walk slowly, your steps echoing faintly through the hallway as you join the others making their way to the chapel. Outside, the sky is still black. Lantern sways gently in the corridor ahead, casting soft golden light on the damp walls. The rhythm of sandaled feet blends with the muted rustle of robes. No one speaks. You enter the chapel. The air smells of beeswax and incense, both faint but familiar, comforting in their own way. The chanting begins, low and steady, a pattern you know by heart. You join in, your voice merging with the others until it is no longer yours alone, but part of one continuous sound. Ours will pass this way, prayer. Reading scripture, more prayer. The hours of the night flow into the pale blue light of early morning. When prayer is over, you move to your work. Perhaps you copy manuscripts in the scriptorium, a long wooden desk before you, a candle to your right, and a carefully cut quill in your hand. Your fingers ache from the cold, and the ink smells faintly of iron and vinegar. Every letter is drawn slowly, deliberately. Mistakes are not crossed out, but corrected with patient skill. A tiny patch of parchment scraped smooth with a knife and written over again. In the fields, other monks work with spades and hoes. The sound of soil turning is steady, the pace unhurried. Their breaths form clouds in the morning air. You will eat soon. A bowl of thin porridge, perhaps with a few dried beans or a piece of coarse bread. The meal is eaten in silence, while one monk reads aloud from scripture. You chew slowly, the taste plain, the texture filling but unremarkable. Then it is back to work, to fields, kitchens, workshops, or scriptorium. Everywhere there is a sense of quiet duty, not hurried, not lazy, simply the rhythm of the days, turning like the pages of a book, one after another, without end. And as the sun begins its slow climb in the sky, the bells will ring again, calling you once more to prayer. Imagine yourself seated at a long wooden table in the scriptorium, the quiet heart of the monastery's intellectual work. This is where one monk, a man whose name is almost lost to time, spent nearly every waking hour of his life. His name appears only once, in small, careful handwriting at the bottom of a page in a single manuscript. It is a name most would not notice, buried between prayers. In a decorative swirl of ink, you picture him, not young but not yet old. Perhaps in his middle years, his hair already thinning at the crown, his hands steady from years of practice. His robe is worn at the elbows from leaning over his work. The scriptorium is cool in summer, cold in winter. Light filters in through narrow windows, falling in pale stripes across the tables. The air smells faintly of vellum, smooth, prepared animal skin, and of the faint metallic temps of ink. Day after day, this monk copies the same book. It's not a collection of stories, but a single, long theological work. His task is not to finish quickly, but to make every letter uniform. every margin precise, every page free of blemish. You can see his movements. The gentle tilt of his head, as he leans closer to check a curve of a letter, the careful turning of a page, his fingers almost reverent in their slowness. When he pauses, it is not to rest, but to sharpen his quill against a small blade, or to warm his hands for a moment near the candle. The seasons change beyond the walls. Snow falls. The fields grow green. Leaves turn gold and drift away. The book grows slowly, page after page, gathered in neat stacks. In the margin of one page, in a space no larger than a thumbprint, he draws something small, figure, almost like himself, seated at a desk, with a quill in hand. It is not part of the text, and perhaps it was never meant to be noticed, but it remains a quiet signature of his presence. Years pass. The manuscript is finished, bound in leather, and placed on a shelf in the library. The monk who made it continues his work, perhaps beginning another copy, just as slowly, just as carefully. His life is not marked by great events. No battles fought, no high offices held. But in the stillness of the scriptorium, his days are full, shaped by ink, by light, and by the rhythm of the bells. And when you hold the book centuries later, and see that tiny self-portrait in the margin, you understand? This was not only a monk, it was a person, quietly leaving his trace in the only way he could. The monastery library is not large, not by the standards of great universities or royal courts, but within these thick stone walls it is a place of deep quiet and deeper treasure. You enter through a narrow wooden door, its hinges groaning softly. The air here is different, cool, still, with the faintest scent of dust and parchment. Shelves line the walls, some leaning slightly with age. They are filled not with endless rows of books, but with carefully bound volumes spaced apart, as though each needs room to breathe. Monks keep careful records of these books, what exists, who copied it, and when. There is one book mentioned in the oldest inventories that cannot be found. The Codex is described only briefly, a theological commentary bound in dark leather, its pages edged in red. It is said to contain marginal notes from several hands, voices layered over time. And yet, search as they might, no one has seen it in living memory. You imagine yourself here, searching by candlelight. You run your hand along the spines, feeling the texture of the leather, the occasional crack where time has dried the binding. The silence is deep enough that the sound of your own breathing seems louder than it should be. There are theories, of course. Some say the Codex was borrowed by a visiting scholar and never returned. Others whispered that it may have been hidden, tucked behind a false panel to protect it from thieves or fire. There is even a story passed quietly between the older monks that the Codex contains something unusual, something that does not belong in the ordered life of the monastery. It's not heresy, but a collection of personal reflections, a human voice among the rigid lines of theology. You picture yourself kneeling before the lowest shelf, where dust has gathered thick in the corners. You imagine finding a loose board, and behind it, a narrow hollow in the wall. Your hand reaches in, the air inside is cool and dry. And there it is, a book, its cover worn smooth with age, its pages faintly scented with smoke. You open it slowly. The writing is familiar, the same careful hand as the monk from the scriptorium. But here in the margins, his tone is different, more personal. Observations of the weather, notes about the taste of a rare meal. A line about how the moonlight fell one winter night through the chapel's window. Perhaps it is only a dream, a gentle imagining while standing in the quiet library. Or perhaps the Codex is truly there, waiting in the walls, its voice still intact after all these centuries. The monastery is a place of simplicity, but not all rooms are the same. At its heart lies the abbot's hall, a space reserved for occasions of importance and for the quiet privileges of leadership. You step inside. The first thing you notice is the warmth. A broad hearth at one end, its fire casting a steady glow across the stone floor. The smell of wood smoke mingles with richer scents. Spices. Roasted meat, fresh bread. The table is long and sturdy, its surface polished by years of use. It's unlike the refectory where most meals are eaten in silence. The abbot's hall allows for gentle conversation. Voices here are low, measured, carrying the ease of men who are not rushing to return to their tasks. At the abbot's place, a cup of wine stands ready. It is deep red, and its surface trembles slightly in the flicker of the fire. The The bread before him is soft, its crust golden, its flavor touched by the sweetness of honey. You take in the details. A dish of stewed fruit, apples and pears softened until they yield at the touch of a spoon. A bowl of fish flavored with herbs that are rare in the monastery gardens, perhaps brought from a nearby town. A thick soup of lentils and onions steams gently, inviting slow, unhurried eating. The monks at the abbot's table speak of the harvest of repairs to the roof, of letters received from other monasteries far away. Their words flow at the pace of the meal, punctuated by long pauses, in which only the sound of the fire can be heard. In these moments you feel the contrast. The cold mornings in the cloisters, the thin porridge in the refectory. The endless hours in the fields or at the desk. Here, the warmth of the hearth, the softness of the bread, the gentle spice of imported wine. The abbot's hall is not a place of wild abundance. It is still restrained, still shaped by the monastic rule. But within its walls, comfort is allowed to stretch a little further. The body is fed more richly, and the spirit is eased by company. When the meal is done, the candles are snuffed one by one. The air cools, and the sound of footsteps returns to the stone corridor. The abbot lingers a moment longer, looking into the fire, as though reading some unspoken thought in the embers. And then the hall is empty again, its warmth fading into the silence. Outside, the monastery settles into its night rhythm. The bells will not ring again until the earliest hours of morning. Imagine yourself in your narrow bed, the coarse wool pulled close against the cold. And somewhere nearby, a single candle still burns, casting its soft, unsteady light on the pages of an unfinished book.